I mean, thank you very much. I think it was a very interesting presentation and very interesting study. I have a doubt though, because sometimes you do seems to differ Catholic from sustainable, and sometimes you use it in the same boat. Now, as far as I understand, they're not quite the same. In terms basically of the process you mentioned, because as you know, sustainable funds, they have a very sophisticated process of screening, which is not only in the negative screening, as you very correctly say, but they also have a positive screening. So they not only screen by sectors, but also screen by the best in class in terms of social performance. So the result of this process tend to have a very different result that you only screen negatively, which is in the case of many of the Catholic only based ones. I mean, so I'm not sure you can make it such a undistinguished. Whenever you talk about as if it was the same, whenever you talk about this if it was different, if you talk about sustainable only, and then you put everything in that sustainable without making any reference to the Catholic, I will accept it. Now, if you're making different about faith and Catholic, and in concrete, the one you're using, the Ave Maria, which is only faith-based, Catholic-based, I do have a problem, because the process of that particular fund with the KLD social or any other of the sustainable will differ greatly. Also, another difference will be by the sectors, because as you know, sustainable funds tend to be very heavily into ecological. So they will ban anything to do with, I don't know, carbon, nuclear, oil, and that will make a whole difference, and a difference from the Islamic ones. So what I mean to say is like either you talk about sustainable and then you put everything without making distinction, or if you want to only to refer to some Catholic faith base, you should make a little more definition of it. I don't know if it is clear. For the rest, I think it's very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The sound is not very well here, so I'm not sure to understand well your question and your observation. I think it was a question of investment process, and I think you just say that there is several investment process, for example, in socially responsible fund. So there is a different results for each investment process in the SRE. No.
I don't know. It is. Where is the microphone? Okay. It is better if I'm standing here.
Il y a beaucoup d'écho en fait.
Can you hear it fine now or not?
We can hear you. It's just that there's an echo.
There is a lot of echo, so it's very difficult to understand you.
Okay, that's okay. I can send it to you by email. I don't know what to say. No, what I'm trying to say is like, to me, sustainable funds differ greatly from only Catholic ones. So it should not be mixed so easily, because the process of investment and the process of screening and the sector in which they can or cannot invest are very different. That was my only remark.
Yes, but what we remark is that there is no a unique investment process. We have a huge investment process, even in Catholic fund, even in Islamic funds, even in SRE funds. Each fund have its own process. So in another paper, we focus on sustainable funds. And we saw that, but I would say it's another paper. The best-in-class investment process is probably the best one, with the best performance. But it's very difficult. Of course, I agree with you. It's difficult to compare these three types of funds which do not have exactly the same investment process. But we only take into account the fact that the fund is say itself, okay, I'm a Christian fund, or I am an Islamic fund, or I am a SRE fund. But we know that even in Christian funds, you have very good and very bad ones. In SRE funds, you have good and bad ones, etc. And we know that some funds also said we are Christian funds or we are Islamic funds only for marketing reasons. And in fact, they are not really Christian or not really Islamic or not really SRE. It's only a marketing mark, I will say. We are very aware that the fact that there is a lot of different investment process, even in a category of funds, but it's very difficult to make difference. We cannot. I cannot see how can I do to check fund by fund or to check for the index. It's more simple, but to check fund by fund if really the fund is have such investment process or the other one.
Thank you very much. I think it's much clear. We'll talk more about it because I happen to be a member of the board of a few sustainable funds. So I know it will be what I was referring, it was not that. It was not from fund to fund. Generally, the general screening is not negative, it's positive. So I'm not screening by sectors, I'm screening by social performance. So it makes a whole different approach in certain ways. But that's okay, I think it's a very good paper and then we can discuss in length about it. My only recommendation, do not distinguish between Catholic and sustainable. It makes it very difficult to understand. That was my only concern. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from Madrid? No? No more questions? Okay, thank you very much, Madrid. Khalil?
You have one.
Kalim, do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Perfect.
The sound seems good.
Okay, now in your paper you rejected the normal assumption, but there was no technical work on the using the non-normal stable distribution, temperate stable distribution, standard temperate stable distribution. Why? It's like it seems to be the half of the walk. The next step should be to modelize those with non-normal stable distribution, for instance.
Yes.
That you have the skewness more than 3, the curtis more than 3, the skewness which is negative. This all affect the performance of the funds. It was more interesting, I think, to modelize those with non-normal, because all the funds, all the indexes of the funds that you are using has absolutely rejected the normal distribution. Yeah.
Yes. Good idea.
If technically, we can provide from the Center of Financial Product, we may provide technical assistance on that, because we have been using the stable distribution now for a while on the indices, on the stocks, on the Islamic stocks from the Western countries as well as from the OECD countries. So I think it's more. It will enrich the work if we go to modelize this with something which is with models which make sense. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. No, I agree. This point. In this paper, we only wanted to brush, a kind of landscape, and to try to answer a really basic performance question. But yes, of course, we can use other instruments, much more designed for non-normal distribution to try to measure performance. I agree.
Any other questions? Yep.
Thank you very much, Professor Philippe and
Thank you.
for both of your good lecture. And it is very interesting and very informative. Many issues, undiscovered issues that you have highlighted. Appreciate. Now, I have two queries. First is, we have basically four funds that you have highlighted. One
Yes.
is the Islamic fund, Christian fund, social responsibility fund, and ethical funds. Now, my issue here, the zakat and tax. These are the funds, all four funds. Are the zakat, the taxable? I mean, the Christian fund, social responsibility fund, and ethical fund. First question. Now, as regard to the Tabung Hajj, Malaysia, this is even the Islamic fund, but this particular fund is both taxable and also zakatable, because we have Schedule 9 of the Federal Constitution, which provides that any entity or the commercial entity which generate any halal income is zakatable. And if there is another provision under the Companies Act, any company which is registered under the Companies Act 1965 in Malaysia, it is that particular company is subject to the tax. They have to pay the tax under the Income Tax Act 1967. Now, how we can resolve this particular issue when we are talking about the ethical fund? How we can justify that these particular funds, the four funds, are zakatable or taxable? Second question here is as you mentioned, that lately you mentioned that actually all those funds are invested. Now, there is investment, then of course we are questioning about the securitization. How we can confirm the securitization of those funds? Now, is there any measure or any specific regulation that which provide the securitization of those particular ethical funds or the religious funds and so on? Thank you very much.
So, for the first question, between the taxable fund and the zakatable fund, I will confess you that I will not focus on this question, but we probably have to see that again, because if there is two types of taxation, or one type of zakatable and taxable fund, we do not take this into consideration. So thank you for the comments. And the second one, I didn't remember your last question.
Securitization, because it is mentioned that actually all funds are invested. Now,
yes.
There is an investment exercise, then there is a risk. If there is a deficit in the fund, because all funds are public funds. So now, if there is a deficit, who should be accountable or responsible? Okay, is there any securitization, and how the measure about it?
But
Thank you very much.
If we have a deficit, the price of the share will fall down. So I don't know who will be the responsible. The fund manager will be the responsible. There is no, of course, there is sometimes a deficit. So the deficit will be taken on the fund price. So the fund price will the fund price will be lower, and the persons who buy the fund will take the deficit for them. I don't know. I can say if the deficit will come from the portfolio manager or comes from the Sharia board or so on.
This is a good question actually. If you do not elaborate much on this, but this is a concerned issue. We have to really study on that, and we have to analyze this particular issue, because this is a public fund, and if there is a deficit, there's a crisis actually. It's not a commercial fund, it's a public fund.
Yes.
There is a deficit, then who shall be responsible? Is there any securitization? Because there are some securitization whereby this particular fund is, if there is a deficit, is going to be top up or provide some sort of securities like insurance, etc., etc. So that's what we mean. If we do not have any study on it, I hope that in your research you may recommend something. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I will try to have a look on this point, but I didn't know that it was a public fund and not a private one.
I have a small clarification, if you could.
Yes.
The paper that was circulated, in the paper you say that using various, in the conclusion, using various risk-adjusted measures of performance, we show that overall and more specifically during the crisis, Islamic indices have outperformed both conventional and Catholic funds indices. And in the last slide of the presentation, you mentioned that the ethical funds and the faith-based funds are as bad as the conventional funds during the crisis. So is there a contradiction, or I didn't get this issue? Can you elaborate?
No,
please?
it depends. First, two remarks. First, it depends if you take into account only the return or the risk-adjusted return. So if you take into account only the return, you will see that an overperformance of the Islamic funds and indexes. If you take the risk-adjusted return, the overperformance is lower. That's the first answer that I will make. And the second one is that the Islamic funds make a slight overperformance compared to the other one, but this other performance is due to the lack of financial firms in the Islamic funds. So if you do carve out, if you take out the financial firms of the other funds, for the conventional funds, for example, you will have exactly the same performance for the Islamic funds compared to the conventional one. So I think the actual crisis perhaps will help us to understand well this phenomenon, because during the crisis that we have now, we have a lot of oil companies which are very affected by the crisis. So, and there is a lot of oil companies in the in Islamic funds. So we will see perhaps in 1, 2, or 3 years, we will see if we will see the behavior of the Islamic funds, and we will see if this is a sectorial bias or not, and if this sectorial bias could explain more or less the overperformance or underperformance of Islamic funds. So to be clear, first, yes, the Islamic funds and indexes have an overperformance in terms an over return, I will say. Second, if you speak about the risk return on a risk return basis, this overperformance is not so important. It's very weak, you say. And third, it's probably due to the lack of financial companies in the Islamic fund investment.
Any other questions from KAU?
I have one question. I was just wondering, your choice, you have chosen two indices.
Yes.
Those are Dow Jones ones, DJ.
Yes.
You could not find any other beside DJ indices, or is there any special reason for your preference for DJ?
We decided to focus on the index for currency movement reasons, to focus on indexes and funds only commercialized in United States on only with only one currency, which is the USD. That's why we have only two indexes, because there's two indexes only invest all in USD.
Okay. Dollar-denominated indices in order to sort out
the currency effect. Because if you include in our sample funds or indexes coming from from Saudi Arabia, for example, or Malaysia, we will have a very important currency effect. S&P.
Why not?
S&P is also dollar-denominated. Standard & Poor's.
Yes,
why not for the others? That is the question.
Sorry?
Why not, you didn't take the other indices, American like S&P?
Because we wanted to have. So first we did it, and you don't see a lot of differences between the different American global indexes. You don't have a lot of differences in terms of performance for a 3 years period. And we need only one, because we need only a benchmark, and we use it. Our first aim was to compare faith-based funds such as Islamic, Christian, and even Hindu or so on, and SRE funds. So we use the S&P 500 only as a benchmark. So we think we don't have to make a comparison with all the American indexes. We did it. We used 3 other indexes, but the result was not very different. So in the paper we took only one.
Any other questions from you?
Then from Jeddah.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have questions in Paris.
Oh, yeah. I think the perhaps a question in Madrid, no?
You can't hear. Oh, you're leaving? Okay.
No.
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
You don't have any questions.
No questions? Okay.
No, I was just saying goodbye because I need to go to a meeting.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting. Bye-bye.
See you next month.
Je crois qu'il y a quelques qui s'en va.
Oui, il y a quelques.
Oui, les autres restent, il faut peut-être pas couper.
Non, c'est eux. Ah si,
c'est eux-mêmes qui ont coupé.
Ah bon?
Okay, donc from Paris, we have a few questions then.
I'm maybe
Yes.
only on the this last comment that you said, maybe what you could do is just do an average of all the American ones, no, instead of, because if you only take one, if you only need one as a benchmark, it's like logic, but then it's better to take an average of all the American ones, because then it's more representative than
we took I think the most important and representative. So in the S&P 500 you have 500 companies. So of course we can take the Dow Jones, but in Dow Jones you have only 30 companies.
Mm-hmm.
The S&P 500 seems to us to be the most representative index for the United States.
And you cannot have the data on the company basis instead of on a company basis.
Yes.
Because this would be a way to have more observations.
For the company basis for what? For the S&P
for the
500?
performance, like all the measures of risk or performance or returns on a company basis.
On a company basis.
And
yes. So
you have many more observations and you can see the performance
of each company. You see.
And then, like, you have the companies where Islamic funds invest and the others.
Okay. The differences between to see the differences between the
because at the beginning you said that one of the issues is that you had very little observations, right?
Yes, but the sample is very fund is very it's not very large. We have only 4 funds and 3 or 4 indexes. But at the beginning also, we do not want it to make a statistical comparison. In fact, we come from a chapter for a book about the faith-based companies, and in this chapter, so we've made some statistical observation and statistical comparisons between all the type of big, at a big level, and we just wanted to focus on this article on the resilience of the Islamic funds. We had a question. We saw in a report, a French report, that an important French report said, it seems that Islamic funds did better during the 2000 crisis. So why don't try to follow the Islamic rules in order to avoid crisis, to have less risky funds? That was our question, and we tried to say, is it true or not, and why? And of course, we better could be to have a more important sample, to try to get more indexes. That we'll try to do it in the near future. But I'm not sure that the result will change a lot. We will do it, of course, but I'm not sure that will change a lot of things in the results. But which is for me very important is that I don't know who said me to Jeddah the difference between the public fund and the private one, because of course there is probably a different behavior between these two types of funds, and we will check that. I don't know. I will perhaps Jeddah could answer me which fund is public and which funds are private in our sample.
No one is public. It's what you have here.
Okay.
He was talking about
another one.
Tabor Haji.
Okay.
The example that you have cited in the first
presentation. Public fund and private fund. What I mean actually, this Tabong Haj in Malaysia.
Tabong Haj.
This is Tabong Haj is an Islamic fund, but it's a commercial.
Okay.
Commercial, it invested, and then they're gaining the profit or income over this particular fund. In addition, there is a benefit. There's the performance allowing or the enabling the participant to perform Hajj pilgrimage. So this is the Islamic fund here. But my question here, this ethical fund, Christian fund, and social responsibility fund, they are all public fund. I mean, for the public benefit, not the private benefit.
Okay.
And those funds are regulated by specific law or regulations, either positive law or natural law or standard or policies. So that's what I mean actually. They are public fund, they are not private fund.
Okay.
Unlike in Tabong Haj is a private fund. Though it's Islamic, but private fund.
Okay.
It's invested by the individual participants for the aiming at the investment return and also the additional benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Also,
yeah. Thank you for your presentation, Philippe. I have the first suggestion is about the title, because the title is talking about funds.
Yes.
Or when you have presented your study, we see that you have only 2 Christian funds and 4 indices.
Yes.
So indices, they are not funds.
Okay.
They are just simple indices.
Okay.
So I might suggest to make a precision about this point in the title, because we are expecting to see comparison between Islamic funds and others, but there is no funds, only 2 Christians. So when you presented
because of course we made the selection we have a very important Excel calculation table.
Yes.
So we've made the selection to put some examples in the paper, but perhaps could be better not to change the title, but to include a lot more funds in the presentation.
So in this case, that means you have to take specific funds a portfolio of Islamic funds,
Yes.
let's say 15 funds through a word, and when you do that...
But it's very, very, very difficult to find 50 funds beginning in 2003 in USD, only in USD, and commercialized in USA, and always alive 15 years later with no merge, no change in portfolio management policy, etc., etc.
Yeah, that's true. Even about you have presented about some sectorial biases.
Yes.
In the same between Islamic to the Islamic indices. The issue is when you compare Dow Jones Islamic indices, the two ones that you have taken, compared to S&P, you are making the biases more important because S&P, we know that S&P, they have some criteria that are different from Dow Jones. This, I think, I suggest to compare Dow Jones
with Dow Jones.
Yeah, to be sure that you are pushing away those sectorial biases. And you have presented your result based on annualized return and risk and Jensen Alpha.
Yes.
So I was expecting to see those results for each year from the starting year 2003 until 2014. But I have seen just only spot some points.
It was only in the presentation, but the tables are in the paper.
For sure. So when you are doing annualized, you are moving completely. You are taking a big picture. It's annual picture. So you are moving away this specific granularity about the day. So the result, and just before you present that, all those indices, they are not their normality, they are not normal. So the annual result should not be pertinent regarding the non-normality of. So I think there is more techniques adapted for when you are no normality. You have to go free from normality and to take some techniques adapted to those kind of issues like wavelet or other technique. Otherwise, you are just you cannot see what really happened. Then the conclusion, you make some conclusions, but because you are so far from the situation, and you say it's good or not, but you are not looking exactly what happened from day to day. And some techniques like wavelet, you can see really what's happening from day to day or from, you see. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a good study.
I have one last question.
Yes.
Which is it's maybe a little bit out of this, but what do you think? What do you think about the ethical banks of, for instance, Triodos Bank or Oikocredit? I don't know if you heard of them, because they also have Oikocredit, for instance, is a savings account that people can. It's just like a fund, but only a savings fund, and then they invest in microfinance institutions, and it could be somehow considered as a social fund.
I will say it's totally another field. At the beginning, I was not a specialist on ethical or non-ethical or Islamic funds. I was a specialist of performance measurement. So I tried to make, if I have distinction between performance measurement between funds. Considering microcredit, etc., it's a specific literature, and I have a lot of friends which published a lot in this field. There is a book recently, we come out recently. Its name is La Finance Autrement, in which you can find different articles concerning sustainability and I would say social investment. It's a book by Bernard Paranque and Roland Pérez. which you will have some literature about microcredit. But it's not. I'm very sorry, but it's not. For me, it's not the same field.
Any other questions?
No, just thank you very much.
Celine? Hello, Celine. No more questions on your side either?
Then from here.
Okay, well, thank you very much.